Hi everyone, here we are for another lockdown video, and well, I've got this bike here that's got a flat front tyre, so I need to get the bike out and fix the puncture on it. And I just thought, you know what, it'd be quite a nice video to make for those people out there that struggle to repair punctures. Might pick up a tip or two if I show them how I do it. So just thought I'd take some time. I've got a willing assistant in Camilla behind the camera who's going to try and move the camera around, which will save me a lot of time. Normally I'm moving cameras all over. And yeah, let's get to work and do a little maintenance in the kitchen stroke living area here at the house. So, right, first of all, the bike, you can see it's got a front puncture. So I need to get that repaired. So we're going to drag the bike out and put it on its stand. So just move the bike down here. So now I'm going to show you a little tip that I use to get the bike on the stand. And a lot of people I see struggling like getting the bike here, and maybe they're not so tall and they're like, yeah, trying to lift the bike up onto the stand. And especially with the big rally bikes, it's quite difficult to get the bike onto the stand with that technique. So I want to show you how I do it with the rally bikes, which is even easier with the little bikes. So I've got one of these little folding polysport stands, motorik stand. Put it right next to the bike, the bash plate where we're going to put the bike. So we're going to have it like that. And then if Camilla can just go on the other side, then I'm going to show you how I lift it up. So put it at the side where the bash plate is, and then what you do is you just line the front wheel up in front of it, so where you want the bike to be. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the back of the bike across, hinging it on the steering stem onto the stand. So I'm going to stand the bike up like that, yeah, and I'm just going to show you another thing. If you're short, I'm tall, so I can get my hand under the top of the wheel there, and then you use this hand to stop the bike from falling over. So just like that, lift it up, straight like that, and walk across onto the stand, okay? And put it down. Now, if you're a little bit shorter and you don't have the legs to lift it high enough, a little tip you can do is just knock it into first gear, and then you can get the wheel at the spoke here. So further down, and then up there, and you just go like that. Dead easy. No trouble at all, straight onto the stand. So that's my little tip for getting the bikes onto the stand. Works exceptionally well if you've got a big heavy rally bike. So let's, I just grabbed a few tools here. I hope I've got the right ones. Just need to, yeah, all good. So we're just going to take the wheel out of the bike. The tools we need, hopefully not too many. I'm not used to working in the kitchen, so I'm just going to take the wheel nut off and leave it on a little bit. Loosen the axle clamps. And on the other side. Okay, and then I've left it the nut on so that I can just bash it through with my hand. It should make it that little bit easier to get the axle out. It's a little bit stiff, so if you just put something against it, you gotta be careful you don't damage the thread, so make sure it's on the inside. You can just tap the axle through. You know how to remove the wheels on your bikes, I'm sure. And then take the axle out. And that's it, and we've got the wheel. Okay, so first of all, I don't fancy kneeling on this hard floor, so I'm going to get exercise mat. Get my exercise mat out. Let's get this on the floor. Nice work area that we can work on. So I'm going to probably need a new tube. Get a new tube anyway and a pump. I'll show you later how to fix a puncture repair, but we're going to stick a tube in it for now, and we're going to concentrate on the technique of removing the tyre and tube and everything from this. So first of all, this has got a rim lock, so you can see there's a rim lock in there, and there's also this tube there, so we'll double check that there's no, we could whip the valve out just to make sure that there's no air left in the tube. Just going to whip the valve out, the valve core. There we go, nothing, absolutely flat. So next thing we're going to do is loosen the rim lock. If your bike's got a rim lock, if you've not, it's even easier. So we'll just whip that off. Now, I'm not trying to show everybody the only way to change and fix a flat, and I'm definitely not here to try and tell people the fastest way to fix a flat. What this is about is trying to help some of you people that might struggle with fixing a front flat tyre, and give you a little bit of help on how to do it a little bit easier. So that's all this is about. I know there's many different ways to skin a cat, there's loads of ways to fix a puncture. I'm just sharing with you some of my experience, and I've fixed quite a few. So okay, so we've got the nut off the rim lock, we've got the nut off the tube, and then we're just going to push it off the bead, the tyre. So we just push that down both sides, flip it over, push it off again. So if, for example, this is a road tyre and it's extremely stiff, then you will need to either use a side stand off a different bike, use your foot, or another method to do it is this. So if you're really tight on the rim and you cannot get the tyre off the rim, what you can do is you can put one tyre lever in, like that, as far in as you can get it, put the other one in on the back of it, underneath it, and then push them both down together, like that, and you see how it pushes it off the bead. So you can use two tyre levers to push it off the bead like that if it's particularly tight, and just take them out. Once you've done it in one place, it becomes easy. Okay, now, we are going to start by, I've only got two tyre levers. I'm not going to do all this 5-6 tyre levers. You don't need 3 foot long tyre levers. That's all you need. Nice little ones. These are from Motion Pro, make these ones. And you look at it and you say, oh, okay, where do I start? Well, my advice would be to start where the valve is, because what you want to do is to get the tyre off easily, you need to make sure the opposite side of where you're going to start tyre levering, that the tyre is in the trough of the rim. So if you see the rim has got like a lump in the middle, it's shaped like that. It's shaped like that, the rim. And what you need to do is you need to get the tyre bead into the back of the rim opposite the valve. So you see here, if you push this down, it goes into the rim, okay? So what we do is we're going to put a tyre lever under the opposite side, right, near, not next to, but near the valve stem. And if you just try and pull it now, it's quite tight because the tyre is sat against the bead. But if you push it down into the trough, all the way around, look what happens. All of a sudden, that tyre lever, it's there. It's already gone, okay? Now, we're not going to push it all the way down to the disc like this, because then what you do, you can nip the tube inside, and you don't want to pinch the tube inside. Even though this is already punctured, you don't want to pinch it again, so don't go all the way, okay? Then if you want to get another tyre lever in, let it go back up a little bit, put one in next to it, then you can do 2. So you've got 1, 2, like that, okay? Same again. If you want to go easier, you can just lift it up. You can get another one in next to it, and then 1, 2. Now it's nearly there now. You only really need 1 tyre lever now. Just keep going. Another 1, another 1, another 1, and you can see it's off. Okay. So a couple of tips there on how to make it easy to get that tyre off. Now you'll see that I finished where the rim lock was. Yeah. So the last place you come to, this way of doing it is the rim lock. So we're off now. Now, what I see a lot of people doing is sticking their hands inside the tyres. So like getting the hands inside, trying to get the tube out, and it's hard, and you bash your knuckles and everything. And you don't really ever need to put your hands inside the tyres. If you do, or you're struggling with the tyre lever because it's particularly tight, then you're doing something wrong. That is making it hard for you. So you want to try and make it easy. So if you just pull the tyre over to the side, push the rim and pull the tyre, you can actually just get it dead easy like that, okay, and move it out. You don't have to put your hands inside. So push down, pull the tyre. Now, if you pull it out all the way around, you can see the valve. You don't want to pull the valve out, so be careful of that. You're going to stop there. Now, some people then go inside, take it out. It's almost 90% of the time that I'm fixing punctures, I end up taking the tyre off the rim. And it's good practice because if you're fitting a new tyre, you need to take it off anyway. So the way to do that is just make sure that the tyre is not obstructed by the valve or the rim lock. So you want to put that at the bottom. Make sure the tyre's right in the trough of the rim. You push down, and that gives you as much freedom as possible at the top here to take the tyre off. So you hook one tyre lever in, put another one in next to it. Again, notice there's no fingers going inside tyres or anything here. Yeah? And then pull them both over like that. Push down. And now what you want to do is push the tyre off the rim. So you fold the tyre down like that. You see it folded back on itself. You can put your foot on it if you want and just push down. That's it. That's the tyre off the wheel. Now, always check if it's a directional tyre or not. And if it's a directional one, you need to make sure you get it back on the right way around. This one doesn't look like it is directional, so I'll just check. No, it's not directional, so it doesn't matter. So next thing to do is if it's off the rim, sorry, it's easier to check to see if it's got any thorns or anything like that in it. So to do that, just run your fingers around the inside, preferably with a glove on, but obviously you'll feel smaller spikes without a glove on. Nothing there. Then what I do to check the middle part of the tyre, run around with 4 fingers. Now you might just miss it because a thorn could go through the middle of your fingers, so then run around with 3 fingers to get the middle gap. So first thing, 4 fingers, all the way around. Nothing in there. And then 3 fingers, all the way around. And I'm happy there that there's nothing in there to cause another puncture. So now you've checked that, you can either repair your tube. I'm not going to show you how to repair it right now, but I will show you how to repair it after up there. But for now I'm just going to put a new tube in. Now here comes another little tip, is to put a little bit of air in the tyre. Now in the inner tube. This makes the world of difference when you are repairing punctures. And here's the reason why. 1, it makes sure that the inner tube always stays in the right location, it doesn't get twisted inside the tyre. It allows you to put it inside the tyre before you put the tyre on the rim, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And also when you're putting it on with your tyre levers, it prevents you pinching the tube, because what happens is when the tyre lever goes past it, it allows to slide on it instead of grabbing the flat tube. So you'll never see me putting one in without any air in it. So we're just going to throw some air in this. I've only got this little pump here at the house, but you don't need to put a lot in, you just want the inner tube to take its shape. That's what we're looking for. You see, now it's taking its shape, that's enough, no more. So pop that off. And then what I do is put it inside the tyre. Now, a little tip here, if you're at home, if you're out on the trail it's a little bit harder. If you're at home you can use soap and water, like fairy liquid and water, just a tiny bit of soap, you don't need much. If you're in your garage and you've got WD-40, WD-40 is great to put around the bead of the tyre because it dries out and it doesn't cause your tyre to spin, but it helps you while you're putting it on. So just a little bit of WD-40. I've not got anything here, so I'm not going to put anything on it. I'm just going to put it on dry, which makes it a little bit more difficult to fit, but it'll show you the, well, I do have soap and water, could do that, but I'm just going to do it dry because like out on the trail, usually you don't have anything and you're in the middle of nowhere, so that's what usually happens. So just I push the tube in like this, it's in the tyre, then find the hole in the rim where your valve should go, and you literally just pull the inner tube out of the tyre, poke it through the valve hole, and then put the nut on, and this stops you ever having to put your hands inside the tyre, what I was talking about earlier. When you're fumbling around trying to find the valve stem hole, you just literally do that, screw the nut down, and push the tube back into the tyre, okay? You see, and I didn't have to put my hands inside to do it. So then what we're gonna do is push down like we've done previously, make sure that the tyre on one side of the rim is inside the bead. So push it down inside like this. And you do it as much with your hand as you can. Now you got to remember here you've got a rim lock. You see the rim lock here? So you've got to make sure that the first side of the rim lock is in the tyre. So you can do this by pulling it out, push the rim lock into the tyre, like, just turn it around a little bit to make it easier. Just pulled it out for the meantime. There's the rim lock, you see? Can you see it? You make sure that goes inside the tyre, like that, on this first side, okay? Make sure your tube's in, like that. Tube sticking out there, make sure it goes down in the tyre so you don't pinch it, and the rim lock is in there. You see the tyre's on the outside, you want to get that like that. So we've got the tyre in the side of the rim lock, and we can actually put the nut on the rim lock just a tiny bit. So we can still push the rim lock down, but we're not going to lose it inside the tyre there, okay? Make sure the tyre's fully inside the tube is fully inside your tyre all the way around. Push down, and then we're going to use the lever to pop the tyre on. Now, remember there's no soap or anything on this, so it's going to be a little bit tricky because it'll be dry. And my favourite saying is one of those things, never mount dry, but in this instance we are doing, just to show you that it can be done dry. You don't have to do it with lube. So just push the tube in so you don't pinch it, pop it over the top, all the way around, push the tube in so you don't pinch it, put your knee against it to help you, pop it over, we're almost there now, a couple more. Make sure the tyre, see at the other side here, it's actually on the rim, so if you pushed it over like that, it would make it easier for you to get it in. So we'll just move it just a little bit at a time, try not to take too much, otherwise it's too difficult. Pop it over, and again, put your tyre lever in, push it over, and one more time and we should be on. Okay, that's the last one. And we're on, okay? Didn't have to put my hands inside, not too much swearing going on. Now, you know you've got your rim lock in the right place, you can push it in, it's not trapped at all, you got your tube in the right place, your tube is all the way inside the tyre with some air in it. The next thing to do is start to put the second side of the tyre on. Now, to do this we're going to start at the rim lock. Now, reason for that is we want to make sure we get the rim lock in the right position behind the bead of the tyre. So to do that, if you just watch what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put tyre lever either side of the rim lock, and I'm going to push the rim lock in with my finger and then put both tyre levers over. So I just put my leg over that one, keep it pushed in, push the next one over, and you can see that now it stays in because it's inside the tyre, okay? So So put the pressure on that to hold it in place, and then I'm just going to use one tyre lever to go around. You can see I've just pushed the bead in between the rim lock and the rim, yeah? And then I'm just going to use one tyre lever, and I'm going to walk around. Be careful not to pinch the tube. It's definitely easier when you've got air in it. Put my knees on it. I'm just going to go all the way around. One tyre lever. You can use two if you want. 1, 2, 1, 2. So you can put one over, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one, and alternate. But I'm just going to do it with one. So just do that. So you could push that one over, then do the next one, hold that, take that one out, then do the next one. But when you've done it as many times as I have, you can almost manage with one. So push that over like that. Now, you're getting to the point now where it's getting tight. You see, once it starts to get tight, this is where people start to struggle and panic. And so just take a little bit more and do one more, but it's already, I notice it's already too tight. You see how tight it is on the bead? Don't carry on and force it onto the rim. It should be easy. So if it's not being easy, something's wrong. Now what's wrong here is that around this side of the tyre, the tyre's actually sat on the bead of the rim, not in the trough in the centre of the rim. So what you need to do, you can see it's in the trough there because there's a big gap. So you need to push the tyre inside the trough all the way around. You see it going inside? Let's go close there. Watch when I push down there. You see it jumping and made a big gap? Push it in the trough. Now, watch what happens here. Now, if I move the tyre lever another 3 inches, straight across, no problem at all. Yeah, take the tyre lever out, another 3 inches, and it's not too difficult. Same again, push down again, push it into that trough. The more tyre you have in the trough on the opposing sides, the easier it is to pop the tyre onto the rim. And now you just use the second tyre lever. The last bit here, push your tyre lever in. I've got it on the disc side, so it's a little bit awkward. You can always put it the other way up the tyre to make it a bit more easier, but you can do it either side. But watch how easy it is to get the last piece on. It's not difficult. See, there's no difficulty pushing that round. So, that's it now. The tyre is on the rim. Not had to put our hands inside and scuff all our knuckles and everything. And hopefully that explained how I change my tyres with tubes a little bit. Now, I would just, before putting air in it, just push down on it just to make sure the bead is evenly seated around the rim before you put some pressure in it and then blow it up. So, and then the last thing we're going to do is tighten the rim lock. So first we're going to blow it up. And there's no air compressors in the house, so just going to do it by hand. So this little pump here. And then pump up to the desired pressure. And you'll find it'll seat itself. Now, if you've used a soap or WD-40 or something on your bead of your tyre, it will seat a lot easier. And off-road tyres seat at quite a low pressure, but if you had a road bike tyre, it would take a lot of pressure to seat onto the rim. But here we're only looking for the trails, probably about 14 psi, something like that. In this particular one, can already feel that it's getting there, and that's it. It's already evenly on the rim. Probably about it. Just have a quick feel. Yep. Enough pressure in there. And you can use a pressure gauge obviously, but I'm just going from experience. And then last thing to do is to tighten the rim lock, which is this big nut. Now the fact that you've put air in the tyre already, you've pushed the rim lock out of the way of the tube. So if you put the tube in there totally flat, it could have been behind the rim lock and then when you blew it up, it's pinched in there, and then when you tighten it up, you get another flat tyre, which sucks. So once that's through there, you can then use a little ratchet spanner here. It's much easier, and you just tighten it up. Not too tight, but that's just to stop the tyre rotating. That's it. Put your valve cap on. Make sure, of course, that your valve core is tight. Yep, and valve cap on. Okay. Right, and that's it. That's the puncture fix. Now I mentioned you could actually, the side that you're working on, if you're out of the way of the disc, it just makes it a little bit easier on fitting the tyre levers and stuff, especially like on a rally bike where you've got a much bigger disc. It's always better to be installing it from this side. I don't really mind, I do it from both sides, because if you can't get the tyre lever in, you just put it at an angle like this and then lift it on top of the disc, and the little bit of pressure you're going to get on there is not going to damage the disc. So that's it. So now we're just going to put it back in the bike, and then we're going to go and do some wheelies. No, sorry, we're not, because we don't have anywhere to do them. We're not allowed out of the house. So I'm just going to pop this mat away. I'm going to put this back, the wheel back in the bike, take the bike off the stand, and then we're good to go. So pop that back in. Make sure you get your disc inside the disc pad, the brake pads. Now, as I said, this is not about doing it the fastest way, it's about explaining how to do it an easier way. So just get that lined up. Just won't go through. There we go. And then one thing that a lot of people don't do, and this is really important when putting your front wheels in, I'll just try and explain it to you. The front wheels clamped in position. Now, if a lot of people, what they do is they put the axle in, they tighten the nut and just nip all these pinch bolts randomly. And what ends up happening is, if you're not careful, you pull the forks together at the bottom. And what that does, it creates a triangle like that. And when the forks go up, they tighten up. And it really does hinder the fork action on your bike. So it's very important to make sure that these are perfectly parallel, these forks. There's two ways of doing that. I'm just going to show you. Once you put your axle through, push it all the way through, as much as you can. Just nip one of the pinch bolts on the axle side, not the nut side, on the opposite side to the nut. This just allows you to tighten the axle nut. So all we're going to do is tighten this up to the exact torque setting, you see there, of 66.72 Newton meters. There we go. And then what we're going to do is tighten the pinch bolts on the nut side. So we're going to nip those to the correct torque, 10 Newton meters, and what you'll notice is that I do it alternatively. The reason for that is if you tighten that one, you think it's tight, then you tighten that one, as it clamps down it loosens this side. So it'll go more. So you do them both 10, 10, 10 until they're actually the right torque setting. I'm using the Linden torque wrench, you can see, because I don't have my torque wrench here, but I've got quite a bit of experience to know how tight they need to be. But if you're not sure, use torque wrenches, of course. Now, this side, we're going to actually loosen it now, because what happens is, hopefully if I can get Camilla to come around here to this side, what you'll see now is that side is all clamped and the wheel is tightened across to this side of the bike. I've loosened the pinch bolts on this side, and that allows this fork to slide. You can see, get close there, like you can see it moving? See that? Now what you need to do is you need to find the free center, so where the forks are parallel, where it sits. Now a lot of people put the bike on the ground and push it up and down. Another way of doing it, it's a little bit awkward on the rally bikes. So what I normally do is I push it one way, and I know how far it goes one way. I pull it the other way, I know how far it goes the other way, and then I find the middle ground, which the middle ground on this bike is flush. So I would just do that, make it flush, that's the middle ground, and I know that that fork is straight. If you want to double check, when you get it on the ground, you can leave it loose, push it up and down, and it'll find its own center, and then tighten it up. But on this bike, I know where it is, and I know that it's not going to cause a problem to my fork action in that position. So tighten those up alternatively. Okay, and then put all the tools away. Put all the tools away on the kitchen work surface, and then remember, once you've had the wheel out, you can push the brake pads back in the caliper. So before you go riding, always check that your brakes are pushed up properly to the disc. So just put that. And then we're going to take the bike off the stand. And the easy way to do that, as I showed you before, is for me, and I think it's a good technique, hand on there to hold the bike up straight, hand on the back straight, lift it up, and walk off with it like that. Put the side stand down, start your bike and go ripping. So I did put new inner tube in the bike just then, but now I want to show you, I said I would show you how to find and fix the puncture. Now, it's always worthwhile carrying tubes with you, because if you're running on tubes, and even if you're running long distance on mousse, it's a good idea to have tubes, and especially if you're running systems like tubeless or even tubeless tyres, it's still worthwhile carrying a tube, because if you do damage your tyre, you can stitch it and put a tube in. So I always, on all my travels, with whatever I was using, I always carried tubes, even just a lightweight standard duty one in the bottom of my luggage. But I'm just going to show you how to fix it, because you can fix them with a conventional patch kit successfully, but you have to do it properly. A lot of people have failures with patch kits because they don't prepare the tube properly, or the glue to allow it to work correctly. So I'm just going to show you how to do it. So hopefully it helps some of you. This is an old tube, it's been patched 3 or 4 times before. I'm just going to stick the pump on it. The first thing to do is pump it up, because we want to check that there's no tears in it and find out where the leak is. Now, this was a very, very slow puncture, so I'm guessing that it's a tiny, tiny pinprick, and it'll be on either separate or it'll be on an existing repair. So we're just going to blow it up a little bit more than you would normally do, so like that. And then what we're going to do is dunk it in this bowl here. Because first of all, if you're out on the trail, you can usually run your lips close to it and you can feel it. But I can't feel anything. Do it on the inside. Nothing. So it's a tiny, tiny, you feel it's still solid. If there's any splits in it, just replace it. But I'm just going to dunk it in here, and you'll see straight away. So first we're going to check the valve. Check the valve by no bubbles. And we're just going to work our way around, squeezing it until we find where the leak is. It's so slow, it's going to be a tiny little bubble stream when we find it. So you've marked wherever it is. So say if it's here, right there, you know where it is, and we're going to start to clean it. Now, what's really important is these ridges. If you've got ridges like this, these little casting marks from where they've made the tube, you know, the little lip there. If there's one of those, it's difficult to seal across it, so you've got to clean it off. So that's why you need sandpaper, or usually they come with like a little metal grater. So imagine this puncture was here. We're just going to sand away that lip until it's almost gone. So you go across it like this. See, I'm going across it at 45 degrees, and it's smoothing the surface right out. Now, if you notice, I'm doing it blown up because it's a little bit easier to keep the profile of the tyre while I do this. but then what we're going to do is let the air out eventually. So we're just going to do that. You can actually run that across like this. And we're trying to get it so that you can get a really smooth feel across that lump, that bridge, that the line there, mould line. You can see it's almost disappeared now, and it's nice and it's not shiny, the rim. We've got rid of all the lubricants and everything on the surface, and we're going to patch right across that so it's nice and smooth now. You can just see it, but there's actually nothing there. One more time, just hold it like that, sand it off as best possible. Okay, nice and smooth, nice and clean, no shiny release agents, no grease or anything off the tyre. And now we're going to let the air out. So take the valve core out. And squeeze all the air out as much as possible, and then you can get it flat. Now you can see now it's nice and flat. So we're going to put the patch right on here. Now, thing to do, you've cleaned it all now, so we're going to get some glue, which is just rubber glue. Now, the common mistake people make is they put this on and then they put the patch on straight away. And that's not the way to do it. So we only need a small patch. Imagine it was just a pinprick. So we're just going to use a really small patch, which is that big. We know where we need the glue. And we're just going to put a thin layer of glue. Not open, so I need to open it. We're just going to put a thin layer of glue, about the size, nice and evenly, just like round in a circle, or the shape of your patch. Okay. Just a little bit bigger than the patch, because you don't want the edges to be not glued. Nice and evenly, not too thick, but a nice layer of glue. Probably about 1/2 millimeter or something. Make sure it's all covered. Okay, so like that. Make sure it's big enough for your patch. Perfect. Now we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it to dry. Not fully, but a few minutes until it goes dull, because you don't want it wet. That's how the rubber agent works, it's like a vulcanization process. So we'll just leave it now for, you'll see it start to dry around the edges. Leave it until it goes dull, and then we're going to put the patch on. Okay, so we just waited about 6 minutes, so quite a while actually. If you look here now, you can see that the glue is quite dull. Compared to the big thick patch that we put on there before. You can see it dried up, and that's now a good time to put it on. So once it's like that, you can just peel the foil backing off the patch. Now typically in a vulcanization process you put the glue on both sides, but these patches are already prepared, so you just let the glue dry out like that, and then put this patch on. Now you want to get you don't want to touch it and get dirt on it. And the pinprick, if it was right in the middle there, you want to bend the patch back on itself so you don't get air underneath the patch, and drop it on. You see the sides are still not touching. And then you're going to push down in the middle with your thumb, and you go around in a circle and push all the air out like this, until it's stuck to itself, until it's stuck to the bonding agent, the rubbering glue. And we're just going to push down all the way around it like this. And we're going to leave it a minute or two. And then you can peel the backing off if you want. Now you can leave the backing on so that it stops the tube sticking to the tyre. But if you peel it off, you can also just put some, even if you've got some fine dirt or really, really fine dust, chalk dust, something similar on it, just to stop the glue sticking to the tyre. And that's it, you're done. So just let that dry. Okay, so once you've left it on a minute, just make sure that when you peel the backing off, you don't lift the patch up with it, and you can do that by just rolling the edges back down if it starts to lift up. and slowly peel it off. I'm just doing this to show you. I would normally just leave the backing on. I'm just going to show you it. There we go. And there you can see, push the edges down, and that's your patch. So she's on. And then we'll just put some chalk dust on there, or some really fine dust just to stop it sticking to the tube, and blow it up or roll it up and take it for next time. If you just get the valve at the top, and I know I'm teaching a lot of people to suck eggs here, but if you're a beginner or you're a junior or you're just starting out, you know, and I did when I first started, rolling the tube up and pressing the valve in. If you remove the valve core with one of these valve core removers, and then just start opposite the valve, lay it down flat like this on a surface, start opposite the valve, you can show them, and then just roll it over on itself. And as you roll it over, you keep pushing the air out. So you just roll it, you can hear the air coming out because you're pushing the air towards the valve, which is over here, and push it all the way out. Make sure the valve is free, like this. And then when it's together in your hand, put the valve core, sorry, and tighten it up, and that'll stop any air getting back inside. And you've got a very, very nicely packed, tight, compact inner tube. See, nowhere. That's it. It's a little bit of a puncture repair. Hope you found that useful. We'll find something else to do tomorrow.